The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, here we go. I'm sitting here talking to David Clark. God dang, David was the author of one of the favorite books I've read in a long time. You guys heard him on the podcast when he came by 317 Gimmick Street. The book is called Out There, A Story of Ultra Recovery. The story about how David took over his life, kicked alcohol, kicked drugs, turned into an ultra marathon racer, and now is obviously living clean and doing incredible things. David, I love that book. And welcome back to the show. It's good to talk to you again. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to be back.
What are you doing right now, man? When you left here, I know you were heading back to Colorado. Are you out there giving speeches, or you got another book in the works? What are you up to?
Yeah, man, I have a couple things going on, actually. I am just about done writing a second book. I did a lot of different things after the kind of ending point of my book Out There. So, you know, the second book's about kind of that journey and finding happiness and dealing with the successes and the failures that came with a new life. And then I just launched a podcast of my own as well called the We Are Superman podcast. And you know, working on a documentary, man, just trying to spread the message of hope, just trying to spread the message that there's no such thing as too far gone, you know?
Man, that's interesting to say, too far gone. Hey, when you talk about your podcast, what kind of subject matter are you covering?
So, you know, the reason why, like, my social media name and everything is then We Are Superman is because I really believe in the bottom of my heart that, you know, we kind of all have a super-powered version of ourselves, you know, inside. And for years I was, you know, 320 pounds. I was just beaten down by drug addiction and alcohol addiction and food addiction. And, you know, all of that time I felt so weak and so kind of imprisoned. But yet there was this other version of me, the version of me that I experienced today that was always in there. And the podcast is about, you know, kind of unlocking that side that we all have. You know, I invite guests on who have all, you know, done and experienced some of the things that, you know, the great accomplishment that life has, and kind of sharing that. How do we access the superpowers that we have through spiritual awakening and through kind of delving deep inside our psyche?
Well, how are people able to download this and listen to it, David?
It's on SoundCloud and it's on iTunes. You can find links to it just by Googling it, I think, or certainly on my social media stuff, Twitter, at We Are Superman, and Instagram, We Are Superman.
Well, you know, one of the things, you know, when I decided to call you, because I wanted to talk to you again, because you have a fascinating story. I absolutely loved the book. I had a lot of response when I put it out there on my Twitter account and in our conversation here on the podcast. And a lot of people responded very positively about reading the book and just loved it like I did. And it was just a fascinating read. And you came by the house here, and we had a great visit, and we hit it off like gangbusters. And you sent me a text message before you got over to the house. And you said, hey, man, I'm a coffee junkie, and I'll be stopping at Starbucks on the way to your house. Would you like anything? And I said, no. I said, I'm coffeeed out of my mind. I forgot I had radio interviews this morning, so I started at 6 and I was still drinking coffee. So anyway, fast forward to just, I guess, a day or two ago, I was on your Instagram account, which is We Are Superman. And on your Instagram post, you said, over 12 years ago, I let go of alcohol, even though I couldn't imagine life without it. 4 years later, I stopped eating animal products, even though it seemed impossible at the time. Today, I walk away from caffeine, even though I've told myself forever that it's my only vice left. The thing is, every time I've let go of something that was unhealthy, it made my life better, not worse. My days brighter, not increasingly dull. My heart peacefully full, not seeking to fill a void. Taking care of ourselves for the right reasons is always followed by a more fulfilling journey. All right, David, I just read a text message you sent me, and I just read an Instagram post from your Instagram account. How did you okay, I understand the alcohol. I understand the drugs. I understand the meat, turning into a vegetarian. My wife is a vegetarian. But now, coffee, the only vice you had left. What brought you to this decision?
You know, it's Twofold, man. Honestly, the journey that I'm on, I'm not trying to some super monk. I'm not trying to punish myself or rob myself of pleasurable things. Although it could appear like that from the outside, but the journey for me is to just try to find the healthiest, happiest version of myself possible. And so it's kind of looking at caffeine and coffee in particular and how much of it I consume. And the thought that I had was exactly the thought that I put in that Instagram post. I thought, well, gosh, each time that I've had something that was, really big in my life, something that I seem to habitually do over and over again, and that kind of started to dominate my behavior. It seemed like if I let that go, it would be negative. But every time I did that, it was a positive. So it kind of got me just thinking about that in terms of caffeine. And, honestly, I thought about that with running too. Had running become too big? And when you and I talked on your podcast, I mentioned that I kind of looked at that too and wanted to, I didn't want to eliminate running, but I just wanted to make sure that nothing in my life becomes so big that I lose myself in it. And the caffeine seemed like, a normal cup of coffee a day somehow became, a quad shot Starbucks drink every single morning, sometimes another one in the afternoon. And it was like, if I need this to feel good, I'm doing something wrong. So let's just see what happens when we walk away from it and kind of, never be afraid to do that. Never be afraid to let go of something and see what happens.
So how far into this are you?
Just a couple days. And, it's interesting that, what happened is, I wasn't feeling real good. I woke up and I was kind of fighting the flu and, I felt like, my heartbeat was a little rapid and I was wondering if I was training too hard and all these things. And, what you do, you immediately go through the process of, what could potentially be the thing. And the only thing I could think of in my life that could be a potentially, unhealthy practice is coffee. It is coffee. So that's what got me thinking about it. And, I don't think there's anything, inherently unhealthy about coffee in general. I'm not on a campaign against caffeine or anything like that. But, I think that, if you become dependent on something, then you're kind of missing out on something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. I've read many times, because sometimes I thought I was drinking too much coffee. So I said, hey, man, I'll cut back on it. Or sometimes I actually eliminate it for long periods of time. And a lot of people, when you read about it, because I read about everything that I try to do, a lot of people get the jitters. A lot of people can't sleep because they're used to the coffee. And not because they're jacked up, but just because now they're not getting it. A lot of people will get the headaches, obviously feel fatigued. Did you go through any of that, or did you weather the storm very calmly?
Honestly, I've felt fine. I've been prepared for the headaches. I've been prepared for that kind of stuff. But I felt pretty good, and, I might, after some period of time, go back and have a cup of coffee. I might not, but the whole point to me is to not have to. I think that at the core of who we are as human beings is this really powerful center. And that, kind of going back to what we were talking about with my podcast. And I believe the farther we get removed from that center, the farther we are removed from our truest, happiest self, our most motivated self, our most activated self. And so for me, it's more of just an experiment more than anything else of I'm just going to let go of this so that, if I wake up in the morning and instead of thinking, all right, I need to get a cup of coffee, I need to do this, then I'm going to have a different thought. You know what I mean? I'm going to have to have a different thought besides, where's my cup of coffee? And I want to see what those thoughts are. You know what I mean?
Well, that's interesting because when I would stop, when I stopped using smokeless tobacco, or when I stopped drinking as much as I was drinking, I always needed something to fill that void. And so same thing right now. I just finished a cup of coffee 5 minutes ago. It was time for that cup of coffee, so that occupied my time. So coming from the standpoint that you are, a former addict, and what I was doing, and I associated that dip of skull, that drink, with the certain moments and certain things that I did when hunting season came around. Dip of skull, wake up, dip of skull, get in my Bronco, dip of skull. I mean, I know we're only talking about a cup of coffee, but just coming from where you came from, now what are you doing when you don't have any of these vices left?
Well, I think that is that's the exact essence of why I wanted to just let go of coffee for a little bit. Like, I'm trying to find the place where I don't have to be doing anything. You know what I mean? Like, that whatever it is that I'm doing is enough. That when I'm in tune to the moment, whether it's my kids or talking to you or playing golf or whatever it is, that I'm in tune to that experience and I'm not constantly having to carry something else with me into that moment. Because when I do that, then I'm not truly experiencing the moment, right? I'm by definition, I'm bringing something else into it that's taking my focus. And so that's really what it's about for me, is just trying to be more present in the moment and not to have all of these things, whether it's coffee or alcohol or whatever.
So what's the documentary you're working on?
The documentary is called Hellbent, and it's about losing yourself in the pursuit of excellence. It takes an insane amount, as you know, an insane amount of dedication and focus to do great things, to be an athlete, to be a high-level musician, entrepreneur, whatever it is. But the picture that we see of that is someone that kind of loses themselves in the process, right? They kind of make all their dreams come true, but their family suffers, their personal life suffers, they're not happy, and I'm exploring the idea, is that a myth? Like, I don't personally believe that we have to trade excellence for happiness, that we can have happiness, we can have contentment and fulfillment along with that dedication and drive. So I just want to have that conversation with some of the people that are the leaders in their industries. We've talked to NHL Hall of Famers, UFC champions, top-level musicians, and kind of see where they're coming from. What has their experience been? And then how does that translate to addiction, too? Because a lot of these people who are pursuing these high-level things get caught in actual substance abuse and chemical addiction as well.
God dang, that's an interesting approach.
Yeah, man. I'm really curious. I personally believe that we achieve, what we put on the list, and a lot of times we forget to bring happiness with us. We think happiness is going to come when we get to the destination. As soon as I make my dreams come true, then I'll be happy. And then we make our dreams come true, and happiness isn't there. And I think the reason that happens is because happiness, that's the means of travel. You know what I mean? That's how we get where we're going, not some place that we get to.
Are you truly happy with what you're doing right now, David? Because it seems to me like you're always in pursuit of that next level of happiness.
I am 100% happy, man. The beautiful thing about what I'm doing and where I am is that no single thing that's in my life has to be here. So, for example, if I can't run, I don't need running to be happy. You know what I mean? If my documentary is a wild success or a big flop, it doesn't matter to me. None of that, affects how I'm happy, because happiness is my choice. It's where I am. But to that point, from that place, yeah, I want to reach out, man. I want to grow. I don't want to continue to stay where I am. I want to explore, a greater understanding. There's no level of education to me that ends. There's no connection with self that, there's no point where you learn it all. The whole process is about discovery and learning. And whenever we feel like we've learned all there is or experienced all there is, then we're just kind of sliding. I think we're climbing or sliding. There's no standing still on the mountain.
I agree. Hey, you're not going to believe this. Maybe you will, but and maybe you can relate to this. As I read your book and read about how you started running and you climbed out of addiction, 320 pounds, and got down to your current weight, and running turned into a passion for you. But it drug you out of the hole that you were in, and you just started on a treadmill, and it was high intensity interval training by definition, but because that's what you were doing, but. That's how you started. Believe it or not, I got a lot of people just sending me emails to questions@steveaustonshow.com. Hey, man, even though they read the book, or maybe some of them just heard the podcast, I still got emails of people asking me how to tell them to get started running. A very simple question, but could you expand upon that for my people that listen to the show? Because, it sounds really easy. But then on the other hand, if you overthink it, you start thinking intervals or how far do I need to go or this, that, or whatever. Dude, speak to that and break it down because you're the one that did it, not me.
Absolutely, man. I think that's a great point because, it's never a lack of knowledge, it seems, that gets in our way. It's overthinking the knowledge that we have.
Right.
So keep it simple, just like you said. The way I approached it was 20 minutes, like a 20-minute block of time that I'm going to get on this treadmill, and I'm going to work as hard as I can in that 20 minutes. So what I did was about 15 seconds of running, which, I think that was like 4 miles per hour was about all I could do. I mean, I was 320 pounds, and that was really hard. So I would run for that 15 seconds, and then I would walk until I felt like I could run again, another 15 seconds or another 60 seconds, and then run, walk, kind of back and forth for that entire 20 minutes with the only goal really just trying to do as much work as I can, to start pushing myself, not torturing myself, but pushing myself as hard as I could go, knowing that the harder I worked, the better I was going to get, the fitter I would get, the stronger my heart would get, the more weight I would lose. And then within that, I was doing that every day. I mean, I did that every day. And I would try to just increase it a little bit, like 15 seconds of running to, try to do 30 seconds of running, try to do 1 minute of running. Eventually I got to 3 minutes of running, 1 minute of walking, and eventually I could run the whole 20 minutes.
But if somebody just, hey man, if they didn't have access to a gym, access to a treadmill, you could basically walk down the street. I know this sounds very simple, and it is. But if you just started jogging for 5 or 10 seconds, then started walking again until you got rested up and started jogging again for 5 or 10 seconds and started walking again, if you just did that, that would be a means to start. And so you don't have to overthink it or put into a scientific level about, hey, how should I train to run the mile? How should I train to run the Leadville 100? Hey man, you're just trying to get in shape. You're trying to get started. So just start and see where it takes you. But I mean, wouldn't you agree with that?
Sure.
I mean, I got a lot of questions, and that's how simple they were, man. Just start. Don't overthink it. Like David said, just do it.
100%, man. There's actually a training workout. It's a Swedish word called fartlek, which sounds like a funny word, but it basically just says you go on a run and you pick arbitrary intervals. So, for example, using your example, you're walking down the road and you say, okay, that red car, I'm running to that red car. And as soon as you get to the red car, you go, okay, now I'm going to run to that signpost or whatever it is. And, you eventually get 10, 15 minutes out, you turn around, do it the same way. I mean, training in its most essence, the essence of training is to put a stress on the body so that you become stronger. So as long as you're going out there and doing that, you're going to get better every single day.
Hey man, I've been thinking about your when I was reading your Instagram post a while ago, and again, I forgot why you decided to give up eating meat.
So when I did that, man, that was purely an athletic thing. I was training for my first 100-mile run, and I had heard there was a lot of kind of famous ultra runners. Not a lot of them, but there were a few who kind of really were advocating the plant-based diet. And since I was getting ready to do this big run, I figured, you know what, I'll try it. I felt like my nutrition was, I'd already lost all the weight. I'd already run some marathons. And I felt like I was in kind of a rut. And I was just looking for something new, honestly. It wasn't about animals. It wasn't about anything like that. I just wanted to try something new. And it worked so well for me that I stuck with it, and it's been 7 years. And then now it's eventually changed. Over the years it evolves, and now it's about more of a lifestyle too. It's made me a better athlete, but it also makes me feel good to know that nothing's dying for me to thrive.
But taking that aspect out of it, like you did, like you just said, how it improved you. How did not eating meat improve you from a performance standpoint or how you felt?
Sure. Yeah. And before I get into that real quick, I just want to make sure I tell people, like, I'm not the person that tells people to not eat meat or not do anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, I think everybody needs to do their own thing, and
Copy.
And I'm not. Yeah. So, but as far as what it did for me as an athlete, I felt lighter, stronger. I started recovering from my workouts faster. And these are like really tangible things because I was running the same basic routes in training. So, for example, I'm running up this one route I do all the time called Bear Peak, and this raises up about 3,000 feet over a couple miles. And when I made the switch, I was able to start running sections of that trail that I had to hike before. I could go longer, and I was recovering faster. I didn't have the dairy in my body, which is creating inflammation, and the protein sources I was getting from vegetables and things like that were more bioavailable to my body, so I was able to repair my muscles faster. And lots of people have had that similar experience in making the transition.
God dang, dude, there was a clip you posted on your Instagram account running Bear Peak. Holy smokes, you talking about a rocky, tough, grueling jog in the mountains. That was insanity. And you run it at a hell of a clip. And I remember you talking about the book. You know, hey, man, what do you do? Just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you'll find your way. As I was watching you run this thing, I don't know if you know anything about billy goats, but billy goats can walk anywhere. You remind me of a damn billy goat running across that mountain. So, yeah, that's an extreme event. And, dude, the lack of protein, or you were able to get enough protein from plant-based sources to fuel everything you wanted to do from a competitive standpoint?
100%, man. In fact, for me, you know, I don't think that I could have done it, you know, the way I was eating before. And, you know, vegetables they work, you know, so, you know, I'm not on, you know, a mission to convert the world to being vegan, but my suggestion to anyone who's curious about it is to just try it for 30 days and see if it works for you. If it does, stick with it. If it doesn't, throw it away. But man, it made a huge difference in my life.
Are you using any kind of protein supplements? Like I'll drink 2 protein shakes a day, and that's 2 meals out of the 6, and the other 4 contain meat. So, dude, I'm probably taking in 340 grams of protein. You're probably not a person that measures macros, and you're not a person that's trying to build mass either, but you are trying to fuel your machine. So, with respect to, and I know you've talked, you know, many times to Rich Roll about this, and it's that standard vegetarian question, but what are you eating to get enough protein? Because I'm coming from the world I come from, protein is number one.
No, I know, man. And I've lived in that world for a long time too. And, you know, the best way to kind of describe it is I think in terms of just eating vegetables instead of counting protein. You know, we human beings make our own protein chains just like animals do. What we really need are the building blocks of protein, right? We need amino acids. And some of those amino acids our body produces naturally. Some we need to get from dietary sources. The ones we need to get from diet, all of those are found in vegetables. So your options are eating a whole protein chain that is, you know, a muscle from another animal, or just eating vegetables which have the aminos we need to produce our own. And I've found, my experience is that in eating those amino acids from vegetables, your body can use them very, very well, very efficiently, so you don't need as much protein. There's not as much waste product. And right now, plant-based diets are like catching on everywhere, in the NFL, in the UFC, in bodybuilding. The world's strongest man last year was a vegan.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, his name is Patrick Baboumian, something like that. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but he carried the record he set was for walking a certain distance, whatever it is, with the heaviest weight ever done.
What are your goals now to do with your running? Because I'm interested now in just reading your Instagram post and calling you on the Skype. When you quit alcohol, great decision. Quit drugs, great decision. Quit caffeine, I understand a decision. Quitting meat, I understand a decision. If you needed to quit running because you thought you were running too much, would you quit running? Are you at that mindset yet? Where are you with that?
Yeah.
And do you think of things differently because you are have an addictive personality? Is that the right way to ask that question or phrase that question, or not to offend you?
Well, man, I think, like, I don't want to give anyone the impression that, I believe we can lose ourselves in the process of overanalyzing ourselves, right? I think that is kind of the state we are in a way as a country right now. We've gone down the rabbit hole so far that there's no room to just be a human being, and I'm certainly not on that mission, man. I like my quirks. I like my everything about me. I'm politically incorrect. I have a overactive sense of humor. I'm not on a mission to be the Buddha or Gandhi. You know what I mean? But yeah, I am on a mission to be happy. And anytime something threatens that, like, if I need to have running in my life to be happy, then I have to question that, because I shouldn't need anything. There's always enough to be happy. So, I'm thankful for running. Running is a peaceful, beautiful activity that I have for a period of time. But as soon as it's gone, as soon as I can't do it anymore, I'll be okay. You know what I mean? And this caffeine thing, right? Like, this was just like, I don't want to blow it into something bigger than it is. This is just something I felt moved to do at the time. Hey, who knows where it's going to go? I'm not going to say I'll never drink a cup of coffee, whether I'll do it tomorrow or 10 years from now. That's up to the universe, right? But I had to be willing to just kind of let it go and see what that's like. You know what I mean? Like, especially when it comes to what I'm putting in my body. Because what I'm putting in my body is very important. It's like, it's my temple I know that's a cliche, but it really is. There's nothing more sacred than what we put into our bodies. It becomes a part of who we are. But I'm training for this race called the Barkley Marathons, man, which is just nuts.
What is it?
It's God, man, it's hard to describe this race because there's only been about, I think it's 16 finishers in over 30 years. It's a race designed to fail. It's impossibly difficult to do. And it's really hard to even get into it. It's very kind of low-key underground race. Strangely, there was a Netflix documentary on it just done, though. So if anyone's curious about it, it's called the Barkley Marathons. But it takes place in Tennessee, and it's basically about a 100 to 120 mile race. No one knows the actual distance. And it has about 60 to 100,000 feet of vertical climbing in it.
Guys, so will this be tougher than the Leadville 100 or what's the desert race across Death Valley?
Badwater.
Yeah, Badwater. I mean, how does it compare to those? I mean, you've got the altitude of Leadville, you have the heat and distance of Badwater, and now you have the up and down vertical of this. What intrigued you to strike up and try to achieve this one?
So it's because it's the impossible race. It really is. It's unfair to compare Badwater and Leadville to Barkley, because people finish Leadville, people finish Badwater, people finish these races, and most years no one finishes Barkley. And what they've done is set up a race that is on the fringe of what is possible for any human being to do, and you have to confront one of the hardest things, maybe even more hard than the physical part, is that you have to confront yourself in a way that's like, you're doing a race where you're expected to fail. You're expected to not be able to do this. So there's no real punishment or detriment to not finishing. You're kind of like expected not to finish. So I want to see, I'm going out there to test my mental capacity. Can I put myself in this situation? And whether I finish or not, I don't know, but I'm just not going to quit. That's my reason for going there is to just make sure that I can keep going no matter what. And if I run out of time, I run out of time. But I would love to just put myself up to the toughest challenge that's out there and see what I'm made of.
So how do you sign up for this? Because I would imagine it's like Badwater or a lot of these other races. I mean, that you see they're invitation only, or like you said, a lot of people don't even know about it. So how do you get picked, or how do you join up to run such a race?
Learning how to get into the race is like a riddle and a scavenger hunt. It took me 3 years to figure out how to even apply for this race. There's no website. There's no anything. You have to like go on a quest to even find out how to get into the thing. So I can't say on air how you do it.
Gotcha.
The race is very eccentric. It's very eccentric. It only costs $1.47 to do the race. You're actually hunting through the woods for books. They hide these books out in the middle of the woods, and you have to go find the book and rip out a page of the book and bring it back to the camp to show them you found the book. And the terrain is just brutal, razor sharp thicket and steep climbs, and most of it's not even on trail. You're just out there kind of, bushwhacking through the Tennessee mountains.
So how are you going to train for this, David?
Boy, that's a good question, man. I'm so much of it is doing the things that are going to put you in similar circumstances, right? So I'm training on off trail, using map and compass to navigate through wilderness sections, to get comfortable doing it at night, doing it in poor lighting. But other than that, man, I just got to show up mentally ready. I got to make sure I'm the best version of myself that I can be when I get there. Because I don't think there is any real training for this thing. You know what I mean? I just find a way to believe in myself on a level that I'm not there yet. You know what I mean? I want to go there believing that I'm capable of being out of 1,200 athletes of the best athletes in the world that have tried to do this, that I could be number 17 that figures out the riddle.
Hey, man, before we go, I want to talk about your podcast one more time. It is We Are Superman podcast, and people can download it how?
Yeah, it's on SoundCloud, and it's on iTunes as well.
Well, one of the guys that you interviewed, it was Taking the Reins with Ken Klauber, and I guess it was your third episode. And I tell you what, I got on YouTube after I heard about this guy through reading about him in your book and talking with Pat Miletich. And, man, you talk about, I've never met this guy, but you talk about a guy who just knows what tough is and pushes his body to the limit and has just the mindset of a champion. To listen to this guy talk, he'll make you want to run through a brick wall. How was the conversation with that guy? Because he's a guy that I really want to meet based on finding out about him through you guys.
Yeah, well, first of all, let's make that happen.
Yeah.
Because I would like to sit and watch and be in that conversation. But, he's so engaging, man. He speaks from a place that's so pure. He's not talking from his mind. He's not talking from his consciousness. It's from the deepest parts of his soul. And you know that when you hear his voice, you know what I mean? And this is a guy who's a miner, like a rock miner. He went, 600 feet down below the earth and 1 mile, 2 miles into the earth to set off dynamite. And as he puts it, make big rocks into little rocks. And, the mental, toughness and physical toughness that was this guy's life before he ever became an ultra runner is just hard to imagine. You know what I mean? You're right. Ken if Ken were doing the Barkley, I'd bet my house that he'd finish it. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing about that guy is, man, he's so old school because, well, Ken is probably, 73 years old right now, give or take?
He's approaching 80, actually.
Oh, approaching 80. I was watching his YouTube. I guess he was getting ready to go climb that tallest mountain, and just listen to that guy talk. I guess today in 2017, to hear somebody, and, my father's 81 years old, and I get a lot of great advice and wisdom from him, but to listen to this guy, Ken, talk of the things that he still wants to do athletically and just to push himself and just to prove that he can do it or find out what he can't do. That dude is so old school. In today's politically correct, everybody's getting their feelings hurt. The way this guy talks, and he's just being humble, but he's so old school. It's refreshing in today's temperature and vibe, if you know what I mean.
100%, man. And we even talked about it in that podcast. I asked him straight up, what does he think a town like Leadville, a race like Leadville, and his kind of way of life, what could the country in today's climate learn from that? And he had a lot of answers. You know what I mean? He's not afraid to call it like it is. But he's also a real kind soul too. And he's just everything that I think everybody loves about America. You know, that rugged individualism, that you're better than you think you are, you're stronger than you think I can, but he still has tremendous faith in other people as well. You know, it's not, I believe in me, you go piss off, do your own thing. His is like, I can do it, you can do it, we can all do it, and let's do it together, you know. And he talks about that, like, that what we need in this country is just, what he said in the podcast actually was that when you're down in the mine, you know, when you're working and you hear a cry for help, you don't care if that person is a Democrat or Republican or who they voted for. You just help them because they're your brother, and it doesn't matter what skin color they are. And that's what we need in this country. And I couldn't agree more. We need individuals, honesty, and grit, and sense of community, and all those things.
And hard work. And I love that one of the
hard
things.
work, yeah.
Hard work. I mean, but that's one of his things, like you touched upon. You're better than you think you are. You can do more than you think you can. And God dang, if people would just live by those two simple lines. But anyway, I'm not going to get philosophical. I saw the guy on YouTube. I saw that you talked to him on your podcast, We Are Superman. And I just think he's an amazing guy. As a matter of fact, that's going to be my video that I recommend people to watch. Just watching Ken Klauber start the Leadville 100, and hell, that damn speech he gives those people there. I think it was right when they were doing the mountain biking. And he says, you know, that everybody there can finish the race, but they have to believe that they can finish the race. But he had the full confidence in him. You got to watch the video. But anyway, he just, to me, seems like a fascinating guy. And did he ever get over there and climb that mountain that he was talking about climbing a year or two ago?
He did, man. He went out there. First year failed. The second year he went out and got it done. And in fact, there was 8 people in his expedition. The 7 other guys turned around before the summit and went back, and Ken was the only guy that summited.
Who you got next on the podcast?
I just actually finished up one today with the director of coaching for Carmichael. His name is Jason Coop. And it's fascinating to talk about the nuts and bolts of running 100 miles. And I got another mountain climber that I'm getting ready to do. And got actually a pretty long guest list lined up. Pretty stoked about that. Pretty lucky.
Hey man, when you're talking to someone about the nuts and bolts of running a 100-mile race, is there anything you stumble across that's new to you or something that you didn't train?
Every time, man. Every time. Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a way, right? And like the better you get, the more important those little 1% that you're missing out on become. So yeah, especially talking to someone with Coop's kind of knowledge base and all the athletes he's coached. He's director for Carmichael, and Carmichael Systems, before they were ultra running coaches, they coached Lance Armstrong, you know, Tour de France champions and Olympic champions and all that. So these guys really, really know their stuff.
Well, god dang, man. David, I saw you post on Instagram. I just wanted to shoot you a call. It was a talk about coffee and caffeine. But when I read that, just after reading your story, because it's such a damn good book, and I'm looking forward to your next book, and you said that's going to be, no, your documentary is Hell Bent. What's the new book going to be called?
You know, there's a couple different working titles, you know, so, but the one I'm most fond of is Balancing Act.
That sounds like dude, knowing you to the extent that I know you, I get that. I can.
And it's really about divorce and failure and all of the things, like how do you navigate all of those things that happen in life while you're trying to, you know, live the best life you can, you know.
When's that book coming out?
I should be done with the writing this year, so maybe like spring, like spring next year.
All right, man. David, it was great catching up with you and seeing what you're up to. Congratulations on the podcast. It's called We Are Superman. If you guys haven't read the book, it's called Out There, A Story of Ultra Recovery. I read it and absolutely loved it. And that the book just ended up being just a pile of dog-eared pages because there were so many bits of wisdom and experience and just things that I enjoyed. So it's a hell of a book. I recommend it to everybody. And it was good catching up with you, and good luck. And when you run that race over in Tennessee, give me a yell and let's talk about it. Whether you succeed or fail, I guess in any case you will succeed, whether you succeed or fail. So best of luck to you, dude.
Thank you, my friend. Always awesome to talk to you.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Do you own a home or condo? Or perhaps you rent a house or apartment. Sure you do. And Geico knows it can be hard work. Because whether you own or rent, you still have to fill it full of your stuff. Your furniture, the flat screen, and all the boxes of stuff that have been sitting there ever since you moved in, but haven't unpacked. It's hard to find the time, right? But you know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. That way, you'll rest easy knowing that your home and all your stuff is protected, like the furniture and that flat screen. Plus, getting a quote on homeowners and renters insurance is super easy through Geico. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. You know, like going through all those boxes of stuff. Visit geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. And over at 317 Gimmick Street, I was going over here perusing the questions that you guys sent in, the question at steveaustonshow.com, and I was looking, I said, man, these questions would be better served on the Unleashed platform. And in walks my illustrious wife, Kristin. I said, right into the spider web. You're trapped.
Yes, I am.
Join me on the podcast.
I don't think I have much of a choice.
How are you?
I'm great. It's hotter than blazes here in California today.
Holy smokes, we're in a heat wave. You've been visiting your mom all day. I haven't seen you. I missed you.
It was 107 in the valley today.
God dang, man, I was over here doing a podcast. A couple of guys from WWE called in. I was shooting a breeze with them on the phone. And then the Terminix guy came by. We had an appointment to spray for bugs over here at 317 Gimmick Street between 12 and 2. The dude came about 1:30. And this place over here doesn't have air conditioning. We have a ceiling fan, and I got windows, but I had the morning coolness, and it was still shady in the morning. So it's pretty cool here. And then I opened that front door to let the Terminus guy in and let all my cool air out, and I've been sweating bullets ever since then.
It is very hot in here, and I think our heat wave will actually end tomorrow or the next day, but this is very rare for California.
Well, here's the thing. Every time it gets into October and it's almost November, you think, okay, fall's here. Fall's here. I can feel it changing. You don't really see the change in leaves here like you do in some of those states. But I think, okay, man, the weather's going to change. And all of a sudden, you just get zapped, and we go into a heat wave. It happens every single year.
It does.
Every single time I look forward to it, and we get that feeling, that Thanksgiving kind of feeling, and then you get zapped, and I'm over here sweating bullets trying to open up a can of audio whoop ass, and I can't because I'm dying of heat.
You're probably down to 10 more pounds today.
Holy smokes, man. I tell you what, we just got back from 5 days in Nevada staying with my brother, and I'm getting ready to leave for Nevada in 6 days. I'm leaving for my mule deer hunt. And, man, the weather was nice and cool.
It was nice and cool.
It was damn near. Well, here's the thing. We went to this big-ass sporting goods store over there called Shields in Reno, Nevada. And I had to start gearing up for my mule deer hunt because Nevada weather is a lot different than South Texas. Most time in South Texas, well, won't be doing it this year, like I said in the open of the podcast. Me and Ted Fowler out there, he's sitting in his deer stand, I'm sitting in mine, and I've got shorts on, a dry fit sleeveless shirt, and tennis shoes. But this time I had to gear up for the cold weather, and I felt like a rookie in there walking around. I mean, this store is unbelievable. If you live in Reno or if you've been to Shields, you know how badass this store is, and they got everything. So I'm trying to buy all this cold weather gear, and I'm trying to do the layering system that everybody talks about. And so I got this dude over there helping me. The dogs are in the Yukon XL. Kristin's grabbing stuff for me. I'm in the dressing room trying all this stuff on. And then finally, after about 10, 15 minutes of that, she goes, you know what? It's getting warm out there. Maybe I'll go get the dogs. It's a dog-friendly store. So Kristin goes and gets the dogs. I'm in the dressing room. I mean, it's like we got a family reunion by the dressing room. And then the dude, Justin, thank you, Justin, from Shields Department Store, whatever it's called, for all the help. I didn't know if the dude was being straight or was pulling a rib on me. I bought a lot of damn clothes. I better not be freezing my ass off when I go hunting with my brother-in-law.
The amount of money you spend at Shields, you better not be freezing your butt off because you bought lots of layers.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I also bought, I've been wearing all of my camouflage shirts for the last 10 12 years.
Yes.
So I'm rotating all that old stock out, and most of my stuff has, holes in it. The threading is effed up, so I needed a bunch of gear.
And it smells.
And it smells, because I've been using it for 12 years. But so not all that stuff was geared towards cold weather stuff. I mean, because you know me, I don't shop but once or twice a year.
Yep.
And when I find something that fits, I just buy a bunch of them. So a lot of stuff was just camo that I'll be wearing through probably the next 10 years. You got to look at it like that.
All right, so we don't have any more shopping sprees to be had for a while then.
God dang it. Here's the thing, man. I got this crazy idea. Not crazy idea. I mean, the pressure, not the pressure, the BS of being in Los Angeles. I kept telling my wife, man, I got to get out of here. Okay, let's go to Nevada and get in the cool weather and just get out in the mountains. So she said, okay, let's go. So we stayed with her brother, Mitch, the guy I'm going hunting with. And all of a sudden we got there and I was like, oh, well, I got to do 2 podcasts. So, I did my podcast. I had a good chance to go over and talk to Greg Golden of Bizarre Guitars, and I really enjoyed talking with that guy. He was a lot of fun. But I had to do work for the first 2 days that I was there.
Right.
And it's like we're cooped up. And because when we rented that cabin in Mammoth Lakes, it was just us.
Right.
So we could make it ours.
Well, and we went hiking.
Yeah, we went hiking, did all kinds of stuff. But since your brother was on his work schedule,
right.
And we were at his place, and he was coming home at night, we were kind of intruding upon him. I think we overstayed our welcome.
I think we did too. Sorry, Mitch.
Yeah, hey, man. We were staying with my brother-in-law.
But we did cook some nice meals, and we had some fun at the Mexican food restaurant.
Boy, I tell you what, you talk about pulling a rib. What was the name of that place? Los Compadres?
No, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Los Compadres, Dos Compadres, something like that. There was a restaurant there in Sparks, Nevada, and we were going to go eat Mexican food because that's my favorite food to eat, and it was my cheat day. And I was going to have a margarita with my brother-in-law, my illustrious wife. And then Kristin and I had been talking that day. We said, hey, man, you got to understand, my brother-in-law, Kristin's brother, he's like a mountain man. The dude's like 6'8". He's 300 pounds, and his legs are about 6'5". So he's just a mountain of a man, but he's a gentle soul. But he's a guy you don't mess with. But he's a guy who's very warm. He's just got a great sense of humor. But he's a guy that just likes to be left alone.
Yeah.
And he's as honest as the day is long. And so anyway, he's a wonderful guy. I said, man, we got to pull a rib on Mitch. And Kristin says, what do you got in mind? I said, we'll work up the old happy birthday special on him. Man, we roll into this Mexican food restaurant. And
his birthday was in August, so it was just belated birthday.
It was his belated birthday. His birthday was in August. We should clarify that because it was not his birthday. And so, we were sitting there. We had a margarita. I had my trademark meal, beef enchiladas and beef tacos. It was off the charts. I don't remember the name of the restaurants. Where it's Dos Compadres, Los Compadres, but shout out because that was some good food. And I went back like I was either going to go to the bathroom or grab the bill. But I didn't do that. When I went back, I grabbed the guy that was working on our table. I said, hey, man, I said, y'all do that happy birthday thing here? And he goes, yeah, we can do it. And I said, all right. I said, we're sitting right over there. You know where we're sitting because you're waiting on us. We're sitting right over there. It's the guy in the light blue shirt, and his name is Mitch. He goes, okay. Man, about 10 minutes later, here come these 3 guys. They got this big-ass black sombrero with gold trim all over. It's one of the best-looking sombreros I've ever seen in my life. And they take his baseball cap on. This is a dude that's 6'8", 300 pounds, and it looked like he just walked off the face of a mountain. Put the black sombrero with the gold trim on and start singing him happy birthday.
And the whole restaurant joins in.
The whole restaurant joined in, and this dude does not like to be pointed out. He keeps it very low key. And on top of that, he's wearing this triple XL Under Armour golf shirt, and he's got about a 3-inch food stain right in the middle of his shirt. And he's got all these people gathered around his table in his ridiculous black sombrero, and we're singing him all happy birthday. I thought he was going to turn. He was almost purple, and I think it was one of those deals like where rather than be mad about it, you got to laugh about it.
We got a good laugh.
We got to get a laugh. I'm glad the guy laughed because if he'd wanted to reach across the table and grab me by the throat, he could have. But God dang, it was a good rib. That's the best rib we pulled in quite a while.
Yeah, it was a good one.
So we had a good time.
Thanks for being a good sport, Mitch.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. I appreciate it.
But then he wanted to pull a rib on you, and we're like, no.
Oh yeah, man. We went out to this place. I'm not going to mention the name of this place, but it's a little bar, not a bar. It's a restaurant. It's a restaurant/bar, and it's right in the vicinity of where Mitch lives. And we stopped in for a bite of food. We're going to eat dinner out one more time. Holy smokes! You talk about. It was a bad experience. It was a bad experience. I don't want to say.
The food wasn't very good.
But anyway. Let's talk about the drive home.
Okay.
Because I've been on this sabbatical where I've been driving the speed limit.
Yes, you did.
And it's kind of, I'm getting used to it. On my trip back, I'll be in the Yukon XL, but I'll be running radar.
Yeah, but as soon as you get in the LA County line, all of a sudden something changes and you start going 95 miles per hour.
No, but that's because that's when you get to LA County, all bets are off. Because it's everyone for themselves, and they drive like a bat out of hell. And you're going to vouch for me on this. You remember, we were coming in L.A., and I automatically speed up. When we start hitting Lancaster-Palmdale, you're correct. And we're coming in, and holy smokes, we were going about 80, 85, and I had a front door because I didn't want to speed because I wasn't running radar. So I was following behind a BMW 5 Series, a man and woman, a guy was hauling ass, so I was just following behind him. And then, man, out of nowhere, I started looking in my rearview mirrors, and then, man, there's this black Scion. What do we call them? What's that Scion? The box car, the little SUV.
Looks like a refrigerator.
Looks like a refrigerator on little bitty wheels. And this son of a buck is coming through traffic, zigging, zagging, splitting lanes. And this isn't a motorcycle. It's one of those Scion box SUVs. And I was thinking, holy smokes, they're not really doing this, are they? They're cutting people off. I mean, literally, there's a foot between their bumper and the car in front of them's bumper. Splitting lanes, I look over, and my wife says, what was that? And I said, I don't know. It's some rocker chick in a black, the car was in bad shape.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it says rocker chick, and she just hauls ass, and she rides off into the sunset.
Well, then, 20 minutes later, we catch up to her.
I don't know why she is in such a hurry, because we hadn't sped up none. She was the one blazing down the highway, splitting lanes, and it was just like that podcast we talked about the other day. You always want to see who's driving like a maniac when they cut you off or do something real stupid. Well, the same thing when they blow your doors off. You're just like, who is driving at? What do they look like? And where are they going? And why are they in such a goddamn hurry? And all of a sudden, there came the moment. It teased the moment several times. We would get within about 3 or 4 car lengths. Okay, we're almost there. We're almost there. We can see, because I said she looked like a rocker chick.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the car would pull away. And then finally, it worked out as the saga unfolded that we both got a chance to peer over into the driver's side of the vehicle.
And it was a girl with an iPad on her steering wheel taking selfies.
It was a young lady with one of those short pixie or bob style haircuts.
Yep.
What do you call them? With like, man, we were in the next lane, but she had eyelashes that were about a foot long. Yeah. And she was squeezed up next to the steering wheel. She had a ton of makeup on, and she had her iPad on the steering wheel, just like Kristin said, and she was taking selfies. I don't know if she's on Facebook, Instagram, a live feed, whatever you call those things. What's that called when you go on, I don't remember. But I don't know what the hell she was doing. The way she was splitting lanes, because she had that damn laptop or that iPad on her steering wheel when she passed us. I'm like, what in the hell's going on?
I don't know what she was doing. I honestly don't know how people can drive like that. She's putting everybody else's life in danger is what she was doing. God dang, I ain't never seen nothing like that. And from then on, it was nothing but people texting, because every time, and then we passed by one girl and I honked at her, and she got mad and flipped us off just because I gave her a heads up. Yeah, she gave me a dirty look.
Yeah, Steve, can you believe that? She's texting, so I just gave her the horn. And all of a sudden, she's, shooting daggers at us, like from her eyes, like, hey, man, we're just trying to give you a heads up. Get off your damn smartphone. And I was just reading an article this morning. I can't go back to my homepage because I got so many pages open up on my computer. And it's like, this texting while driving has gotten completely out of control.
It's out of control.
And out of all the things like alcohol, guns, or whatever that is causing, deaths to people in the United States of America. I won't speak for the world, but people texting while driving is on top of the food chain.
I believe it. We should be like the texting police and pull these people over, give them like, what is that when you can make them...
citizen's arrest?
A citizen's arrest.
No, but that's what, like you said, I mean, you said that there should be some kayfabe cops running up down the freeways and kayfabe cars giving people tickets that are texting on the damn phones because everybody's doing it.
Everybody.
Here's the thing. When I get in that damn seat and put my seatbelt on, and you can vouch for this because you won't let me, or you can speak for me, when I get down the road, you don't let me pick up the phone.
No.
And if someone sends me a text message, I just hand it to Kristin. She'll read it to me. So you just can't do it.
No.
But that's what people are doing. It just scares the hell out of me. All I'm doing, just like my old buddy Ravish and Rick Root said, arrive alive, Steve. That's all we want to do. But that damn girl, that was probably the damnedest incident I'd ever seen, and that girl was going over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, I know. I've never seen anything like it.
But anyway, what else is exciting going on in our life?
I'm heading to Zumba as soon as you let me go.
You got Zumba tonight?
Yes, I told you I had Zumba tonight.
What time does Zumba start?
6:30.
6:30. Well, I guess I better get you out of here. I want to thank you for joining me on the Steve Austin Show, unless you have a life-changing story for me.
I don't.
Come on. Hey, what are you going to do while I go hunting from November 1st to the 5th?
I haven't quite yet decided.
You can still go with me if you want. You don't have to go hunting. You can stay there in the cabin and enjoy being out in the middle of nowhere.
I'll stay here with the doggies. I will cook your food, prepare your food, and get you ready for your trip, and then I will have 5 days here in California all by my lonesome.
But we are looking for Broken Skull Ranch 2.0.
Yes, we are.
In the state of Nevada. Do you want to go? And while I'm out there, trekking around the woods and the mountains, trying to find out where I am with your brother, Mitch, you could be riding around seeing if you can find us a property.
I'll text you.
I'm going to have no reception out there. Every time I try to text Mitch when he's out there, he ain't got no reception. So I'll even know if I'm going to be in range.
You'll probably be in range because I think he did say that the ranch you guys are staying on has all the amenities.
Well, I think it might have Wi-Fi, but every time I try to call him, he doesn't. It goes straight to voicemail or whatever. But here's the thing. I told him I'm not going to drop the name of the town, but we're going to be about 70 miles out of town. So if I have to drop my opens and closes and all my stuff for my shows, I might have to drive into town to hook onto the Wi-Fi, or, well, I'm not taking the Yukon.
You can have your hotspot.
Will my hotspot work in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it should.
But I tell you what, when I got a chance to use my hotspot on my iPhone, it was like my world changed.
Yes.
Because I could send a show by using my iPhone as a hotspot, and I didn't know you could do that.
Yes.
I just thought a hotspot was a bad rash that you didn't want. But anyway, on a segue to close this show out, Kristin, I've got, after the trip to Nevada and just coming back, it's a short turnaround, so I'm fixing to be heading back to Nevada. Here's one of the things that I know I got to do. I have to prepare a lot of my food.
Yes, you do.
So I'm going to fire up my Traeger grill, and I'm going to cook probably, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 chicken breast.
Are you sure you're going to cook all that ahead of time?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to freeze it and put it in my cooler and take it because, man, you just got finished cleaning out your brother's pantry. You see that he eats like crap, and he doesn't cook any food. He goes to restaurants all the time. And out there, I don't expect it to be any different. So I got to do all my food prep, which is going to be easy on the keto diet that I'm on because basically it's chicken. And I'm doing either almonds or macadamia nuts or peanut butter and protein shakes.
Yep.
But I need all the chicken breasts. And for supper, I don't know what those guys are going to do, but I'm not going to be out there stuck in the middle of nowhere and not have my system in. So I got to pre-cook all my food, put it in Ziplocs, weigh it out first, then seal it up, put it in my damn freezer. So I got my stuff with me. So I got all my clothes covered. I got to find some boots.
Yes.
Boots are what I need to find next. I'm probably just going to use my old high-techs, but they're not insulated. I got the food situation.
We've got to get you a sleeping bag.
I got to get a sleeping bag. God dang, man, at one time we was passing through Fort Stockton, Texas, and we went into Walmart and got that little neon green sleeping bag.
I don't think that's going to cut it.
Man, that thing is just like a bunch of, I don't even know what that was called.
Nylon.
It was the worst. It was the worst case of a sleeping bag I've ever seen in the history of my life. The other day, I was looking in your brother's truck. He's fixing to take his daughter hunting. And I said, dude, what is that? He goes, that's my bedroll. I'm like, Dude, that's a big-ass sleeping bag. Well, it's 4 inches of foam, and there's a sleeping bag put in the bedroll, and it's 7 feet by 4 feet. I'm like, holy mackerel. That's the biggest damn sleeping bag I've ever seen in my life.
It's the size of that Casper bed somebody sent us.
I don't need anything like that because I don't know how many times I'm going to be out there hunting with him.
Right.
So I'm not going to go all in and spend, over $200. Well, I think his is like a $500 rig. I just need something that's a little bit better than that gimmick green one we bought in a case of emergency when I was freezing my ass off in that little camper.
Well, I'm going to do some research because I want you to get a nice sleeping bag that is good in the cold because you get cold quickly.
Well, here's the thing, man. I'm going to be layered up. And then I have my sleeping bag, but I'm looking forward to getting out there to Nevada. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close up his podcast, do the close, send it in. I got Ted Fowler 361 coming up on Thursday. I want to thank David Clark for joining me today briefly on the first part of the podcast. Thank my illustrious wife, Kristin, for joining me on the second half of the podcast. Please send your questions to questions@steveaustonshow.com so I have a couple of podcasts that I can put in the bank before I start my hunting extravaganza from November 1st through November 5th. Kristin, thank you. And I was meaning to clean up that dog mess. I'm going to go do it right now.
Hasta la vista.
Baby. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up his podcast and ride off in the sunset. Before I do that, I want to thank David Clark for joining me today on the podcast. He is the author of Out There, a story of ultra recovery. He's also got his own podcast. It's called We Are Superman. And he talks to some real interesting people about some tough things. He's a real awesome guy, and enjoyed talking to him, enjoyed getting to know him.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
All month long on Pluto TV, stream the biggest Tyler Perry movies free. Watch your favorites like Medea's Witness Protection and Medea's Big Happy Family. Join Tyler Perry as he goes on a couples retreat with Sharon Leal in Why Did I Get Married? Or Idris Elba and Gabrielle Union in the Tyler Perry directed film Daddy's Little Girls. Plus, Pluto TV has hundreds of channels with thousands more movies and TV shows. Available on live and on demand. Download the free Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices and start streaming now. Pluto TV. Drop in, watch free.
Hey, Friday Night Lights fans! It's Not Only Football, Friday Night Lights and Beyond is an episode-by-episode discussion of the hit TV series Friday Night Lights, hosted by yours truly, Scott Porter, who played Jason Street on the show, and my two wonderful co-hosts.
Me, Zach Guilford, a.k.a. Matt Saracen.
And me, Mae Whitman, a.k.a. someone who wasn't on the show but really, really loves it a lot.
We will also bring on some special guests, answer your questions, and tell you about what's going on in our lives today.
It's Not Only Football. Friday Night Lights and Beyond is available now wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose!
Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Big Brother Jake, a.k.a. Jake Warner. My government name. Check it out. I host a show called the Big Brother Jake Podcast, and I've taken my talents to the biggest and baddest platform on the planet. That's right, baby. Podcast One. My show is unique as I talk about everything. Life, sports, entertainment, being a single dad juggling several jobs. I'm a hot mess, but it's damn entertaining. Subscribe and review now on Apple Podcasts and listen on Podcast One or wherever you get your podcasts.